And mahalo, everyone. I'm Andy Katz here from beautiful Oahu in Honolulu at the Stan Sheriff Center. Remember, this is the relocated Maui Invitational because of those tragic fires that happened in August. Not able to have the tournament at the Lahaina Civic Center in Maui. So we're here in the Stan Sheriff Center, which I think is one of the hidden gems, not just in the Pacific, but in college basketball. Way back when I started working in the 90s, I went to many a game in this building. Great atmosphere, and with more seats and more fans coming here, I think we're going to have quite an event, because this is arguably, and we're going to see here as we talk about the top 25 poll momentarily, the best non-conference tournament ever assembled. We didn't necessarily know this would happen because this field was put together basically almost 4 years ago, but it has turned out to be the best non-conference tournament ever assembled. And you know why? Look at this AP top 25 poll. Number 1, Kansas, here, playing host Chaminade, a small private school here on Oahu. Number 2, Purdue, here, playing number 11, Gonzaga. Okay, number 4, Marquette, here, playing UCLA, not ranked in this poll, but I think they should be ranked. So clearly, and maybe they will be ranked. And then you've got number 7, Tennessee, playing Syracuse, a team that is undefeated. And by the way, a great stat here on the Maui Invitational. Of all these unbelievable teams that are here, Syracuse, and I said this to Red Autry, their new head coach, at a press conference on Sunday morning at the Hawai'i Convention Center, that they're the only team that's undefeated in this event. But at least I think 4 of these teams have won the Maui Invitational. But look at this field. Look at as it works up with the top 25 poll here, with Kansas, Purdue, Marquette, Tennessee, Gonzaga, and I said, UCLA, and of course, Syracuse. But really, in that first group, Kansas, Purdue, Marquette, Tennessee, those 4, I will not be shocked at all if all 4 of them are in the Final Four. 2 of them, and I'm going to say at least 1 will get to Phoenix. I won't be shocked if we have 2 at all. In fact, I think there's a high probability of that, barring upsets early, but I think we could definitely see at least 1, if not 2, out of this field, and we could have Elite 8 rematches, Final Four rematches of the semifinals in this event. The other thing, as you see this bracket that I'm referencing, if you come out of this event 2-1, however you get the 2-1, you're still going to feel pretty good about yourself. These coaches are going to have to be a little bit patient, because no one likes to lose. But if you can be 2-1 in this field, you're going to feel like you've got some momentum. Someone's coming out of here, obviously 0-3, and will not feel as good about the whole situation, but they're going to get better over 3 days. I mean, UCLA, they're basically their first time they're going to have their full roster is in the game tonight against Marquette, Monday night against Marquette. So as you look at this top 25, and let's analyze this first, I didn't change my top 10 at all in my Power 36 on March Madness, because the top 10 that I had not lost in this previous week. Duke, was one of those schools that I had at number 10, and here they are at number 9. Miami, I think you could make a strong case either for Miami or Gonzaga at 10-11 there. Miami just won a tournament with a win over K-State. UConn looked really good against Indiana on Sunday. They're going to play Texas later on Monday at Madison Square Garden. Houston won a tournament. Arizona, we know, obviously, coming off of their big win against Duke. They've continued to play at a high level. Kansas beat Kentucky with a great second half. Kevin McCullough had a triple-double in Chicago. Hunter Dickinson played really well in the second half. Tennessee, I saw them, as a week ago Friday, win at Wisconsin. They continued to play well. Zakai Ziegler's minutes have risen over the last week or so, so that's all positive for them. And Marquette was my March Madness team of the week with the road win at Illinois. Tyler Kolek, 24 in that game. He was not expected to play, or was going to be dicey with an ankle, and he played great. And that's going to end up being one of the best true non-conference wins that we'll see in the course of the non-conference. And think about that, back-to-back weeks of our teams of the week. Arizona with a road win at Duke, Marquette with a road win at Illinois. Significant true road wins for those two schools. My national player of the week, Jaden Ledee from San Diego State. What a monster performance he had in a Sunday night overtime win in Vegas against Washington. Absolutely crushed St. Mary's with a second half performance. And Long Beach State, the significance of that is San Diego State beat Long Beach State right before Long Beach State went and beat Michigan in Ann Arbor. So 3 great wins for San Diego State after a tough road loss to BYU a week ago. So I have the Aztecs back in the top 25. We see here Michigan State, James Madison still in the back part of the top 25. Now, here's where I'm going to take some issues here of a couple of schools that got ranked here in the top 25, but I think you got to ding them for their losses. At number 19, Florida Atlantic, I bounced them. They lost at home, not a neutral court, at home in Boca Raton to Bryant. This is a Bryant team that had not played well. New head coach and Phil Martelli Jr. Really were struggling, which is understandable. And they go down, and they don't just win at the buzzer or anything. They won pretty handily. I think it was a 9-point victory, but they were in control for that second half. Arkansas. Ultimately, I think the Hogs will be fine, but I pushed them way down with a home loss to Greensboro. Again, not a great outcome for Arkansas to keep them in the top 25. USC, a team I also moved down after losing at home to Irvine. I know USC was not 100% healthy for that game. Still, that's a home loss. Now, conversely, I like the fact that we see Mississippi State at 25. Mississippi State won the tournament in Uncasville, Connecticut at Mohegan Sun by beating Northwestern on Sunday. That is all without Tolu Smith. He's their best player. Big man, one of the best bigs in the country, and they're undefeated, doing a great job here early in the season. So let's look at my top games to watch for this week. And the top 2, and I did rank these in order, not by days of the week. These are in order from rankings this week. I didn't want to separate all the Maui and Atlantis games. So those are the top 2 tournaments this week. Here in Maui, you could argue that Kansas and Purdue technically would be the favorites because they're 1-2, and we could have a 1-2 because they're on opposite sides of the bracket in a championship game. But it's hard to not say that there are 3 favorites with Tennessee as one of them. And you could actually say 4 with Marquette because all 4 of those schools are playing very well. So Maui at the top, no question. 2, battle for Atlantis, which might have taken a little bit of a hit because Arkansas lost, Michigan lost, Villanova lost to Penn. But still, Carolina, a lot to prove this week down in the Bahamas. They've been playing well. Are they going to get back to the way they played 2 years ago? That's the big question for North Carolina. If that happens, then we're going to have a great race at the top of the ACC. UConn, Texas, happening on Monday at Madison Square Garden. Texas beats Louisville. Finally, a great effort from Kenny Payne's team at the Garden on a Max Asmus last-second shot. That's happening at the Garden on Monday. Later this week on Thanksgiving Day, Michigan State continues its gauntlet against Arizona in Palm Springs. Great neutral site matchup for those 2 schools. Great barometer for the Spartans to see if they can raise their game because they did not play well in the second half against Duke in Chicago. Arizona's met every challenge so far. Alabama taking on Ohio State on a neutral court. Ohio State, I think they got a lot to prove here early. Jamison Battle still has not played up to the way he played a couple years ago at Minnesota. Alabama, Grant Nelson, great pickup in the transfer portal. That's a really good game. Here's a couple sneaky good ones for me. Penn State taking on Texas A&M on a neutral court. Penn State's off to a really good start with Mike Rhodes, former VCU coach, brought with him Ace Baldwin. Got Ace Baldwin, Wade Taylor IV, really good point guard matchup. But you also have Kanye Cleary, who's playing really well returning for the Nittany Lions. I like that. That's the kind of game that if Penn State wins that game, certainly could help them as a resume in a couple months. And as we see with the Big Ten, there's going to be movement for Penn State and Nebraska to climb up. Wisconsin taking on Virginia. That's on Monday in Fort Myers. The Badgers have struggled of late, of course. That loss against Providence was disastrous. Bounced back with a relatively easy victory this week, but this is going to be a big test for them. Virginia, as we see, I have no problem with them ranked number 24 in this. BC taking on Colorado State, neutral court in Vegas. Earl Grant is off to a great start with BC this season. They're undefeated. There's a lot of movement in the ACC, and Quentin Post, one of the better bigs in the country, gets no love, going against arguably one of the best point guards in the country, Isaiah Stevens from Colorado State. This is going to be a really good matchup sort of a hidden gem this week. Pitt, Florida. I really like what Carlton Carrington's done for Pitt. He had a triple-double, outstanding freshman. You're going against a Florida team that I think is a little bit underrated. They pushed Virginia. Could have put them in my Power 36. Not able. I didn't do it, but keep an eye on that one. Then I'm going to another good sort of lower tier game under the radar, I should say. But Irvine versus Toledo in Nevada, neutral court. Toledo and Akron are probably the two best teams in the MAC. One of those two, I think, is going to be in the NCAA tournament. Irvine just won at USC, undefeated. And really in the Big West, it's going to be Irvine, Santa Barbara, or where I am right now, University of Hawaii. So these are games I wanted to highlight because I think you're going to see these teams in March challenging for first-round upsets because they're already having upsets now. So by selecting Irvine, Toledo, BC, Colorado State, these are the kind of games that we're going to look back on and say, hey, these teams definitely, won games early in the year. All right, so I'm going to try to let's go to some questions here. Dwayne says, I don't think that's not Dwayne Wade, although who's here, says Marquette should be 3. I mean, look, 3-4, you can make that argument. O. Miller says BYU should be ranked and Duke should be higher than 9. So BYU being ranked, if you want to put them in the back of the 25, I got no problem with that. They beat San Diego State. Duke higher than 9. They lost Arizona and they beat Michigan State, who had not played well. I have them at 10. I'm not putting them ahead of any of the schools that you see on the screen there. I just don't see it. Let's take some more questions here. Okay, Carrie says, laughing my you-know-what off. Dude thinks Illinois is going to beat Tennessee. Never said that, and I don't believe that. So, no, where you're getting that. First of all, the game hasn't happened yet, and it's not in next week's game. So, we're not talking about that right now. Beast Blake says Kentucky is the most underrated school right now. I don't know if I would say that. I mean, look at the schools to the right of your screen. Mississippi State versus Kentucky. You can make a strong argument to rate Mississippi State better than Kentucky right now. Doesn't mean that Kentucky won't be there in the end. Mitchie says, thoughts on PC so far with their new coach, Kim English, doing a great job. They lost in overtime to K-State in their tournament and then ended up winning on Sunday, beat Wisconsin handily. Devon Carter, Bryce Hopkins, they got the pieces to be an NCAA tournament team. If I'm looking at the Big East right now, there's a top tier with, as you see on the left side, look at that, 3 teams in the top 8. Marquette, UConn, Creighton. Second tier, I think, is Providence and St. John's and Xavier. That's your second tier in the Big East. And I will not be shocked at all if all 6 of them make the NCAA tournament. JD Bama wants to know how I feel about Alabama. I think Alabama is going to be right there at the top, competing for the SEC championship. Thoughts on, let's see, State's new team. It's going to be a process. I think they played better this weekend than they did certainly the opener against USC. Please talk about Miami. I love this Miami team. I've got them in the top 10. I think the Canes, Norshad, Pack, Cleveland, transfer from Florida State. They got some big-time talent. Right now, if I were to pick a team to win the ACC, I'm probably leaning Miami over Duke and Carolina and Virginia. I think Miami's the pick. And, they've brought enough back from that Final Four run. I don't know why nationally it hasn't translated to where everyone believing in Miami, but clearly Miami is a team that isn't going anywhere. And when I met with Jim Larinaga at ACC Media Day, he wants no talk of retirement or anything like that. He loves what he's doing, doesn't have a lot of other hobbies, loves to talk about a lot of other topics around the globe and everything, but no question, Miami is a team that I think will end up winning the ACC, probably over Duke, with Virginia, Carolina in some order. What does Memphis have to do to get in the rankings? I think Memphis is playing great now. Their Missouri win is watered down a little because Missouri just lost to Jackson State. Great win for Mo Williams. But I still think that Memphis has a squad that will be maybe the champs in the American. And they're going to be in the tournament. I don't think they're going to be on the bubble. I think they're going to be in the tournament. Who's my favorite in Maui? I hear this from all the fans all around. I still think the favorites will hold today. And if that happens, and we get a Purdue-Tennessee semi and a Kansas-Marquette semi, I'm going to lean on the winner of Purdue-Tennessee winning this event. I would just say this. I love the way Marquette practices. They're so intense every possession. They could beat anybody in this field, but their size concerns me. Kansas played well in the second half against Kentucky. They're still sort of finding their footing, but I don't feel like they've reached. I mean, no one's reached their potential, but I don't think they've played to their potential here early in the season, and they've let teams hang around. I was in Champaign for their exhibition game, and I think in this field, if you let that happen and you don't extend it from 5 to 7 to 10, they're going to lose. So I won't be shocked. I will say this. This is not going out on a limb, but I think whoever wins the Maui Invitational on Wednesday, regardless what happens over the weekend, I think it'll be the new number one on Monday, or the same number one a week from this Monday. Let's see here. Team do I think is a sleeper team in the Big Ten? I think it's Nebraska. Nebraska just got Juwan Gary back. Casey Tominaga came back. C.J. Wilcher has been playing well. Mank is playing really well. Their transfer. So their team, Fred Hoiberg undefeated, they just blistered Oregon State in South Dakota. I think this is a potential NCAA tournament team. I think Nebraska is a sleeper team in the Big Ten. I'm never talking about Texas in the Big 12. What are you talking about, Jordan? First of all, they're ranked number 15. Survived against Louisville. Let's see how they do against UConn on Monday. It's going to be a big test for Texas. Now, conversely, UConn's got to guard Asmus. It's going to be hard. Yes, Arizona is legit. I'm not as worried about Michigan State in this question here because they had good shots. They were just in a shooting slump. So I think it's a pretty good chance that they will end up being right where I thought they'd be, which is second in the Big Ten. Okay, Mojo says, this is a good question to maybe to end on. What 5 teams not ranked are good enough to be ranked? Well, let's look at my rankings. Here are 5 teams that I had. Okay, there's a couple teams I had that were not in this poll. I had Memphis at 21. I had Oregon at 23. I had Auburn at 25. So that's 4 that I had that this poll did not. And I debated Illinois, BYU, San Diego State. So I gave you at least 4, and you can see on your screen. And our rankings will be posted on the March Madness app here shortly. But those are all teams I think you definitely got to put in. Let me just say this on the back part of my Power 36. Teams to look out for here. Pitt, Carlton Carrington, unbelievable freshman right now. I have them at 31. Nebraska, I just mentioned, 35. And Nevada, 36. They are scoring at will. Steve Alford has his best offensive team at Nevada. Remember, they were embarrassed in the first 4 last year, kind of questioned whether or not they should have been in the field. Then they got embarrassed in Dayton. They're back. They're angry. Got bats flying around in the arena in Reno. Keep an eye on Nevada. The top of the Mountain West right now with San Diego State, Nevada, Colorado State. Boise had a tough loss at Clemson. Oh, yeah, that's the team. What are we talking about? You wanted 5? I got 5. Where is Clemson? No one asked about Clemson. Maybe this is the problem. Okay? I'm not going to go Dabo on here, but I got Clemson at 14. Okay, before we get out of here, I got a Clemson soapbox moment right now. Clemson, 14. They were 18 in my first poll. 14. Handily beat Boise State. They won that tournament in Nashville. What does Brad Bunnell have to do to get some respect? Clemson should be in the top 25. I have them at 14. So, excuse me when I talked about the ACC earlier. The reason I mentioned because they're not in front of me, okay? I'm not saying I'm part of the problem here, but I got them ranked. Here's your ACC. Miami, Duke, Carolina, Clemson, and Virginia. That's your top 5 in some order. But Clemson, they should have been ranked in the top 25. Not sure why. So there's my rant. There's my final comment. Clemson should be in. I have them at 14. People are not paying attention to the Tigers. We will do this next week. Enjoy the games in arguably the best non-conference tournament. I got my Hawaiian shirt on. I'm here in Honolulu. It's all coming up in a matter of hours on Monday. Great games all week. It is feast week. Enjoy it all. Thanks for watching and engaging.